Okay. Before you start leaving me nasty messages below, I want to preface this video with the fact that I flew in to visit close friends in a small town, wore a mask the entire time, and did everything outdoors in small groups with social distancing. My name's Janelle, I'm a physician assistant, and I worked in surgery for 6.5 years at a trauma center. So I know what sterile technique is and wanted to see from a healthcare perspective what flying would look like. I would say about 80% of it looked great, but then that 30% was honestly what scared the hell out of me. But before I get ahead of myself, if you're new to my channel, welcome to my channel. Be sure to subscribe below, or just leave a like or a message or a thumbs down, thumbs up. It doesn't matter. Any of it supports my channel. So let's get into it. Hi, I'm Janelle. I've been traveling internationally for the last 20 years, connecting with cultures and finding sustainable adventures, especially scuba diving. This year, I'm showing you my hometown of Utah, from the deep southern deserts to the high Uinta Mountains, with a sprinkling of hidden gems from around the world. Be sure to subscribe and become a part of the culture trekking community. Oh, and share it with your friends. More the merrier. So as you enter the airport in Salt Lake City, you can see that people are beginning, or at least some of them are traveling again. An agent was wiping the check-in kiosk down after each use, and things were looking pretty good, right? Everyone was social distancing, and everyone, for the most part, were wearing masks properly, or at least had some kind of face shield on. There was hand sanitizer that was everywhere, and then once you get out of the airline controlled portion of the airport, and I was flying with Delta, and they were amazing with the mask policies and everything, but then you get to security, which is the local airport run side of the airport, and people suddenly forgot to social distance as you were going through security. And this is where I started to feel like it was a colossal mistake to try and go fly to see some friends. I mean, they had plenty of gloves and hand sanitizers, masks, Clorox wipes, all at the airport stores. And I made sure to grab a few extra, which I highly recommend doing, just because of all the surfaces that you need to wipe down. And please, when you're flying, don't touch your face, peeps. They have a face mask in this packet, and you just really don't want to be touching your face. So there are other areas of the airport that were closed off that were too difficult to be properly cleaned because of how many people would be touching the surfaces. And then beyond the smaller planes at the airport, it really looked like a pretty normal day. I personally chose to wear a construction grade 3M mask. This is not medical grade, so it's not taking away from the healthcare field. And then I also had some eye protection through the high traffic areas like airport security, boarding, and deplaning. Most of the cafeterias in the Salt Lake City airport are closed. There are water fountains that are open but not cleaned in between use, so be careful when you're filling your water bottle that you just don't touch anything. If you need to use the bathroom within the airport, grab a paper towel, just a short one, before you go into your stall. Use the same side of the paper towel to close everything. I personally just set it on top of a flat surface, and when I'm done with my business, then I would take that same paper towel and then use it to exit the bathroom area. Once I was done doing my business, I went to go find a place to sit down. And at least in Salt Lake City, the chairs were marked to help with social distancing, and there were a few people who weren't wearing masks. I just tried to get a seat that was far enough away from them. If I had to, I would go and stand up somewhere else. It was really weird to see that there were really only a few younger people in the airport. I saw maybe a handful of older folks in the airport in Salt Lake City, and it was just bizarre. I think this is where I really started to internally feel uncomfortable, just because it is going to be so different when you go and fly for the first time, which is the whole purpose of me making this video, so that you have a little less anxiety when you go to take your first flight during Rona.
Everybody low 30 and higher, 30 and higher, you're welcome to board at this time. And once again, if you first class, faculty, and diamond, you can board anytime if the boarding pass is on board.
So once your flight actually starts to board, they board from the back to the front. They do let first class, business class, those with special needs, veteran, active duty, military, they do let them board kind of whenever they wanted or when they called. They are pretty strict, at least with Delta, in waiting your turn. So make sure you look at your seat number, and honestly, the less people you have to go past, the better, because it just creates that much more of a barrier. Even when boarding, people were socially distancing, at least in Salt Lake City, until you got on the plane, and then it started to get a little bit more cramped just because of the tight quarters. The stewardess greeted each of us with a Purell wipe that allows you to wipe down your whole area. It does dry out quite quickly, and so that is why I picked up a few more of those Clorox wipes. I really appreciated this from Delta. Just try not to touch their gloves when you take that Purell wipe, because they don't sanitize their gloves in between handing each Purell wipe to the passenger. Make sure you sanitize your hands after wiping everything down, and you do want to make sure that you wipe down everything that you're going to be touching. That means your seatbelt clip, your armrest, your headrest, the TV console, the tray, where the tray goes up and touches the back of the seat. You also want to sanitize the air vents, as well as where you're going to be laying your head and the window shade, everything. I mean, they do allegedly spray the play down after each flight, but I really wonder how long that's gonna last. So just make sure that you're wiping everything down where you're going to be putting anything you touch, like the seat pockets and everything else that we just went through. Make sure to bring out your own water, your own snacks, and your hand sanitizer, and just have that readily available. The reason I say bring your own snacks is because they have this standard pack that they give everyone, and it just has like a Kind bar, some Cheez-Its, water, and a little Purell Squeeze-It. You want to be really careful about what you're going to be putting in your mouth, because the virus is transmitted through the respiratory tract, which means hand to mouth to mouth, breathing, those kind of things. After a few legs of the flight, the Cheez-Its, Kind bars, and everything, it gets really old really quick. I also noticed that unfortunately they weren't sanitizing their hands between each distribution of those packs, and people were touching their gloves, and then they would touch the packets and then hand it to the next person. So just bring your own snacks, mitigate that risk. The sanitizing of the gloves between each distribution of the Purell wipes, the packets and things, that's really the only thing that I could see that they could probably improve on. As far as the rest, Delta does a really good job on making sure people socially distance. They did come out with a statement 2 days after this flight, so things change all the time. You just want to make sure that you're looking at your emails and what changes are happening with the airlines that you're flying with. For example, deplaning, when I was flying, they weren't great at social distancing. You still had that everybody up as soon as the seatbelt sign went off, and they were all bunched together. I tried to stay in my seat. I had my 3M mask on, my eye shield on, but it still was a little uncomfortable. And then when you get off the plane, I'm telling y'all, Atlanta was terrifying. There were so many people. The two flight attendants that were actually in front of me said, "This is crazy. It looks like a normal day with no pandemic. Let's just get through this really quick. I can't believe how crazy this is." I mean, the Mac store was open, cafeterias were open. It was a lottery to see if someone was wearing a mask properly or not. And I was I think this is where my anxiety really set in. Now, to be fair, Atlanta is a major international hub. Now, we're not really flying to major international destinations as US travelers, but just something to keep in mind if you are going to travel, maybe going to some smaller airports or less popular destinations where you don't have to go through an international airport hub might be the best option. After arriving in Atlanta, I had to take a train from one terminal to the next. The seating wasn't really marked and it was almost impossible to actually keep things clean. So if you use the train, just don't touch anything. Lean against something or just try to keep your balance holding onto your suitcase, or better yet, if it's sturdy enough, just sit on your suitcase. Once I got out of the D terminal in Atlanta, I headed to the A terminal, and it was a small plane on a small flight to Huntsville. I started to feel a little bit better because there weren't as many people on that plane, but just my luck, there's always going to be one asshole that refuses to wear a mask. Now, full disclosure, I have pretty severe and reactive asthma, and I wasn't going to risk myself by not wearing a higher grade mask. So I wore my 3M mask the entire flight. My ears hurt, my head hurt, I had a headache, I felt like crying from all the anxiety for flying for the first time with COVID. And then luckily 2 days after this flight, Delta cracked down, like I was saying, and they started to turn flights around for people who refuse to wear a mask. They aren't really putting up with any belligerent people anymore, so I just want to say a sincere thank you to Delta for helping me personally feel more comfortable with flying now. I was so relieved when they came out with this statement saying you must wear a mask in flight. The stewardess and stewardesses would get on the intercom like when I was on my flight home, and they would say it must be over your mouth and nose. People did take their mask off to eat their snacks, which, I mean, you're in a concealed cabin with a high air filtration system, but still, it is a risk. And that is why you have to choose whether you want to take that risk or just pop something in, put your mask up, chew, and then every time you just, that kind of a thing. So after getting off the flight, I went to baggage claim, and the asshole had his mask back on. I don't know if it was because there were like male police officers around, but this guy was bragging about traveling all over California and things like that, so I was just like, all right. I gave him plenty of distance and just took care of myself. Once I got my bags at, Huntsville, where I had been traveling, it was really easy to socially distance at baggage claim. I took my Clorox wipes once I got my bags, wiped everything down, sanitized and slathered myself in hand sanitizer, and went out to get picked up by my friends. Like I was saying, the flight home wasn't nearly as bad or anxiety-inducing because I kind of knew what to expect, which is why I decided to go ahead and make this video instead of delaying this video. So the bottom line is travel recommended right now? No, absolutely not. Can you do it if your mental health or livelihood is going to be severely affected? In my opinion, yes. I have been home for 2 weeks now. I've had no fevers, aches, pains, or any symptoms of Rona whatsoever. So a big thank you to Delta for making the flight home more comfortable by cracking down. It seems like wherever the airlines have control of the situation, the protocols are great and things are managed well as far as safety precautions. As soon as you get into TSA or a generally run territory by the airport management, things aren't as well managed, and honestly, I would sanitize everything, including your entire suitcase, before putting it into your car, touching it, and slick yourself up with sanitizer before getting into the car. If you're visiting friends, spray Lysol over your clothes if you want to, like, just go crazy. 2020, yay. Personally, I had some things going on in my life where I felt like my own mental health was at greater risk than the risk of getting Rona virus. And that's kind of what I tell my patients. That's what I tell them when I'm giving them medication. You always have to weigh the risk versus benefit. So in my opinion, take it or leave it. If it's risking your mental health or your livelihood, I do think it is okay to fly. It will be a risk, and you must stay vigilant and be aware of every single stinking surface that you touch like it has Ebola on it, okay? But all in all, I hope this video at least gives you, some of you, a peace of mind that flying can be done. It will still be risky, and I hope that we can all get back to a place as quickly as possible that things will be better. But until then, stay safe, peeps. Let me know if you have any questions. Haters, please feel free to leave comments below, as well as it really helps out my channel. Thanks, y'all. Bye.